Hi, we are up to chapter 9 of Demon Dentist. Tell no one. The next morning at school, Alfie opened his locker to find a note that had been slipped under the door. It had been made from the letters cut out of a newspaper, and there was no name at the bottom. Boiler room, lunchtime, tell no one. The boiler room was deep within the vaults of the school. It was strictly out of bounds to all children. Alfie looked behind him to check no one saw him as he sneaked down the spiral staircase that led to it from the playground. "Keep out," read the sign. Slowly, Alfie turned the handle and pushed open the heavy door. It creaked. It was dark inside, and the hiss and gurgle of the giant boiler was so loud that no one upstairs could hear you, not even if you screamed. Realising this suddenly, Alfie felt a shadow of fear passing over him. He was afraid. Perhaps being lured down here was some kind of trap. From behind the boiler, out stepped a figure, a short figure with dreadlocks. Any ideas who it is? "Gabs," said Alfie as he breathed a sigh of relief. "Why are we meeting down here? We could get into big trouble if a teacher found us." "Keep your voice down," hushed the girl. "You don't know who could be listening. Now, quickly, wedge that old blackboard up against the door so no one can come in." Alfie did what he was told. Gabs double-checked the door was secure and then rolled out a huge piece of paper she was carrying on the damp and dirty floor. They knelt down to study it. Soon Alfie realised this was a giant map of the town. Gabs had drawn it in some detail and had written notes in coloured pens by certain homes. Urgently, she pointed out places on the map as she spoke. 2 weeks ago, November the 10th, Jack Brown, a wasp's nest. November the 12th, Lily Candy, cat poo. Same night, Eddie Larter, a dirty old Veruca sock. Wonder what they're on about. There's the map, look, with all those weird things on it. Alfie was bemused. "What is all this?" he asked. November the 13th, a Friday. That was a busy night. Crisscrossed all over town. Rian Skinner, a dead adder. Twin sisters Jessie and Nell Godwin, a giant scab, origin unknown. Might not have been human. Hardeep Singh, flying ants' eggs, woke up to his bedroom buzzing with thousands of them. "I don't understand," said Alfie. "Last night it got me. My tooth fell out. Well, after I waggled it for weeks, so I put it under my pillow as I always do. What do you think I woke up to find? I don't know. A bat's wing." "No!" "Yes, still flapping. Must have just been ripped off, the poor beast." Alfie couldn't believe what he was hearing. The girl was gathering pace now. There was no stopping her. "So I started asking around the school first thing this morning and realised it was happening all over town. Kids here, here, here and here," said Gabs, as she pointed out a number of houses or flats on the map, "were all targeted last night. And the calling cards got worse, much worse. A badger's paw, a snail that had had its shell pulled off. Hundreds of centipedes creeping and crawling under some poor girl's pillow. A filthy sticking plaster sodden with pus." The boy couldn't help but shudder. "That's disgusting." "Whatever's happening, this is just the beginning." "Who is doing this?" asked Alfie. The little girl shook her head. Her dreadlocks followed soon after. "Nobody knows. None of the kids I have spoken to heard or saw a thing. First they knew of it was when they woke up in the morning expecting to find a shiny new coin." "And you didn't see anything last night?" "Nothing," replied Gabs. "I lock my bedroom door at night and I live on the 17th floor of a block of flats. So tell me, how did they get in?" Alfie thought for a moment. "Well, they couldn't have done." "They did," replied Gabs firmly. For a moment she looked lost in thought. "Maybe they flew in." Alfie couldn't help but laugh. As far as he was concerned, the little girl's imagination was now running away with her. "Come on, Gabs, that's impossible." Gabs looked at him. "Nothing's impossible, Alfie." Still, he was not convinced. "Maybe we should take this map to the headmaster." Now it was the girl's turn to laugh. "Mr. Gray?" she asked in a mocking tone. "He's useless. Besides, he's allowed that demon of a dentist into the school." Alfie's mind was whirring now. "You don't think Miss Root could be involved somehow?" Gabs thought for a moment. No, how could she? All these different houses all over town in one night. It's just not possible for one person. No, I suppose not. But there is something very strange about her, said Gabs as she stared off into space. Whatever you do, don't try her mummy's toothpaste. It burns through stone. What? Asked the girl. This was a new piece of the puzzle. Yes, I dropped a tiny bit of it and it went right through the bridge. I threw it into the canal and it killed all the fish. Glad I wasn't stupid enough to take a tube, proclaimed Gabs. Alfie didn't like that one bit. Gabs, Miss Root made me take it. Whatever, the girl smiled. It was clear she enjoyed winding Alfie up. Look, between us, we've got a lot of evidence here, said Alfie. I say we forget the headmaster and go straight to the police. Chapter 10. Urgent police business. So, Kiddie Winkies, let me get this straight, sighed PC Plank. We're talking about some evil, flying, tooth-snatching monster. The policeman was more used to dealing with speeding tickets and hedge disputes between neighbours. Unsurprisingly, he was not the least bit convinced by the children's story. It was straight after school, and Alfie and Gabs had raced down to the police station as fast as their legs could carry them. Now they were sitting in a brightly lit interview room with a not-so-bright policeman. I never said it was definitely 100% a monster, replied the girl. Plank shook his head wearily. But it could be a monster. She nodded. And nobody has seen it? Oh, yes, and it only comes out at night, PC Plank scoffed. That's right, replied Gabs, trying to put a brave face on it. Quickly, she unrolled her map. Look, officer, every one of these kids has woken up with something horrible under their pillow. The policeman studied the map for a moment, but he couldn't be swayed. Probably just their older brother or sister's idea of a joke, replied Plank eventually. Kind of a sick joke, don't you think? Asked Alfie forcefully. Well, I suppose it is a little strong, spluttered the policeman. The boy was sure he had had PC Plank on the ropes. Now all he had to do was deliver the knockout punch. And we both think it might be something to do with the new dentist, Miss Root. She came to our school yesterday and gave me a free tube of her special toothpaste. What of it? Replied PC Plank. It burned through stone. The policeman narrowed his eyes and furrowed his brow. This detail of their story definitely interested him. Did you bring this toothpaste with you today, lad? Sheepishly, Alfie shook his head. No, I threw it in the canal. Plank looked decidedly unimpressed. Littering! That's a criminal offence. Could do you for that. But, protested Alfie. Well, lad, if you and your girlfriend don't mind. Girlfriend? Alfie was horrified at the thought. He'd never had a girlfriend and was still at the age where he thought girls were yucky. Completely and utterly yuckety. She's not my girlfriend, he protested. As if I would go out with him, chimed in Gabs. All right. If you and your friend don't mind, I have some urgent police business to attend to. What's more urgent than this? Demanded Gabs. The policeman looked aggrieved. He wasn't used to being spoken to like that. If you must know, I have an 80-year-old woman waiting in the cell. She was apprehended in the supermarket with a Scotch egg stuffed down her tights. Oh, excuse me, said Gabs mockingly. I had no idea a master criminal was in our midst. Alfie smirked. He loved how cheeky his new friend could be. Predictably, PC Plank didn't see the funny side. In fact, he was infuriated. So infuriated that he stood up and sharply shouted, "Out!" The pair stood outside the police station in the freezing cold. Alfie tried to console Gabs, who looked utterly dejected. "Come on, Gabs, you can't blame him," said Alfie. "I mean, it does all sound really hard to believe." It was only the late afternoon, but it was already becoming dark. A wicked winter wind whipped through the air as the little girl looked up to the sky. "They'll strike tonight," said Gabs. She gazed at the black clouds rolling overhead. "I just know it. Somewhere in this town, a child will wake up screaming." That's the end of that. Oh, lost my button. See you later.